Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jonna and I run a plant shop from home called Plants with Benefits. In today's video I want to do some chores for my own plants. I have 4 plants here that I would like to pot up today or repot. I have this asparagus fern and this is one of the plants I always wanted but never really got because they are so accessible. So I never really had the feeling like I have to get them now. I got this for myself as a Christmas present. I just want to give it a transparent pot and some of my own soil mix. Then we have these wonky philodendron gloriouses. I have 2 in a 5 centimeter pot and I've grown these out of tissue culture, but they have been in a propagation box for months and months and it was out of sight, out of mind. So I completely forgot about them, but I would like to give them a moss bowl today. And then we have the Monstera albo. I started this one from a 1-leaf cutting. It is growing beautifully, but the roots are outgrowing this pot. So I would like to give it an upsize. And this one is in a self-watering pot in Lechuza Pond. So I will just put it in the same setup, but in a different pot. I would like to start with the gloriouses because they can't stand on their own. So they need some support. So I will start with making a moss bowl for them. I got a transparent moss bowl that I also sell on my web shop. Both sides contain a protective film so it doesn't get any scratches on the transparent plastic. This is what they look like without the protective film, and you can now fold the sidelines to make it a D shape. What I really like about these moss bowls is that you have a little lid that you can place on top of the lower moss bowl, and you can actually connect them together so it's quite sturdy. These bowls come with 3 side slits where you can choose from to create the perfect size for you. I will personally choose the smallest one because the plants are so small and I want them to fit in a small pot as well. So I'm going for the smallest one. And here's our moss bowl. I am not going to fill it up with moss. I will do that after I repot the plants in the pot. For these 2 gloriouses, I have a 10 centimeter anti-spiral pot. And I will put the moss bowl in there. To start with, I will fill it up a little bit with aeroid mix. The mix I'm using today is made of perlite, tree fern fiber, and cocoa chunks. It's a very aerated mix and I love that for most of my plants. As you can see, I filled the pot like halfway with aeroid mix, and I also filled up the back side of it so I can really anchor it down. It is halfway. OMG. I'm making such a mess. I watered these plants yesterday, so the substrate is still kind of damp. The roots look pretty good. It's not a very thick root system, but I do feel like the glorious in general doesn't really have a very thick root system. They are usually kind of finer roots. Eventually all the leaves will grow towards the light, but for now I would like to put as many leaves forward as possible. This looks so cute already. Plant number 1 and plant number 2. Also very good root system, super wet because I watered it yesterday, but that is fine. I'm gonna squish it in. This is already reaching the top of the moss bowl. And this is what it looks like now. I'm gonna fill it up with the aeroid mix and then put some moss in the moss bowl. Like so. The pot is completely filled. I think it looks so cute already. and I can't wait for the leaves to actually grow towards the light source, because now it's just all over the place. But that will need some time, but I'm not worried about that. Here I have my big box of sphagnum moss. This is also the sphagnum moss I sell on my web shop, and it is really fluffy and good quality moss. It is coming from Australia, and it is sustainably harvested, which in this hobby is very important because this plant hobby can be quite devastating for the environment. So it's very important that you get your sustainable sources or products where possible. And I personally love this moss because it's literally the best quality moss I've ever tried. So it's really, it's a great thing that it's also sustainably harvested. I'm just gonna place the pot in the bin of the moss and then just fill it up. Because the moss ball is so small, it's a little bit tricky to actually fill it up, but that's where the plant stake or chopstick comes in handy, because you can just pinch it down. Sometimes it's easier from the front as well. It is the middle of December when I'm filming this video, and the holidays are coming up. So I was really wondering, are you guys excited for the holidays, or do you have any plans? Are you going on vacation? Do you have a family dinner coming up? I would love to know what you're gonna do with the Christmas holidays and maybe New Year's as well. I recently asked you guys on Instagram if you have any questions for me, because I would love to have a chitty chatty video. And I was just thinking maybe I should do that. Some of the questions I can remember, so I will answer these. They are on my phone, so I can't really look at these now. I got a couple of questions how I started my plant journey, and this is actually a nice question. I really like that because I was struggling with plants for years and years, and eventually my boyfriend's father had a lot of Pilea pepereum, the pancake plant thing, propagations, and he was like, oh, you can take care of it, you can try it, blah blah blah. So I got a couple of his propagations, like 14. And back then I was like, oh my goodness gracious, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I have to do, but they are dying. I can clearly see they are dying. I lived in a different place, and it was a very dark home, and I started to Google like yellowing leaves on the pancake plant. And from there on, I just started understanding the plants a little bit better and knew their needs. And I had the fungus gnats, and I just Googled like little flies at plants because they look like fruit flies, right? So I really tried to understand what was going on. And from there on, I just started with different philodendron. I mainly got these plants through YouTube, where I saw people growing them hugely, and I wanted to do the same. So I went to the garden center, sometimes 3 times a week to the same garden center, and it was not a special one, just to look at the plants and, you know, read about them at home. And yeah, that's kind of how I started. This is the finished product from the Glorious. I can't wait until she's grown again, because I think she's gonna pop off once she's rooted into the moss pool. And maybe I will put an extension on her soon, but not this video. This has been enough moss for today. Yeah, that's how I kind of got into the hobby and learned about plants the first time. I was actually kind of surprised that I eventually could keep plants alive, and it taught me so much. The hobby itself, it's requiring quite some patience, and you know, you have to have time for your plants, and you can't immediately see results. And that really taught me like a life lesson, so you can say. The next question I remember is, how did you start your plant business? I think within the hobby, I missed a couple of shops that sell all the things at the same time. And back then I was working for an employer and I got sick. I have a chronic illness, disease that's called fibromyalgia. And unfortunately, I couldn't work at my employer anymore. So I started to think like, what can I do to make an income for myself and be able to physically handle it. So I started researching and getting some suppliers. And that's basically how I started. I started very small and then I impulsively signed up for a plant market in Maastricht. And from there on, I was like, oh my goodness, I really want to continue doing this. And I met so many wonderful people and I improved my hobby in ways that I didn't really think I would improve to. So I started expanding a little bit and the vision is changing with time. I would love to have some kind of workspace in the future, like an office building where I can just go to for work and maybe have like workshops for propagation or whatever. But that's for the future. That is just basically the answer how I started. I'm very happy I made the jump into the unknown because that's very out of character for me, but I did not regret it a single moment and I still do not. The next question I remember is, would you like to own a physical plant shop? And I don't really know, to be honest. I'm on the spectrum and I am struggling with social interactions. So I don't know if a physical store is something for me personally. But what I do like to think about is having this workspace, like I said, and having like an opening once a month or once a week, maybe. I don't know, I haven't really thought this through. But where people can visit me or the shop or the tent, whatever it may be at a time. But I don't think I would love a full-time store. I don't think that would be much for me. In the meantime, I have repotted my asparagus fern just in the same mix. I didn't really do anything to the roots, just massaged it a little bit. And I'm curious to see how it will grow. All right, the Monstera. This is definitely the biggest challenge of today's video. I have my bucket with pon over here, and I think I will just put it in here, pull it out, try to save most of the roots, and then go from there. It is very wet, as you can see. I will try to save as many roots as I can. This is going to be horrible. I pulled it by accident. Oei, oei, oei. I wanted to save these roots so bad. I might have to repot it sooner because this is so unfortunate. Look how many. So I'm upsizing from a 14 centimeter to an 80 centimeter. I will fill up the bottom with pon first. These, by the way, are the Elho self-watering pots. I love them. The only thing I don't really like about these is that they are quite expensive. I think this one was like 10-12 euros for just the insert, and then you obviously need an outer pot as well. So that is quite expensive. Another question was if I'm attending plant markets in the next year. And of course, the answer is of course. I love going to plant markets, not just as a seller, but also as a buyer. and I signed up for multiple markets already. Unfortunately, the market in Amsterdam in February is cancelled. That was actually the first market of the year, so that's a bummer. But the next market I'm attending is the Botanica in Ham. And then I'm still debating if I want to go to the Botanica in Nieuwegein. It's not in Houten as previous editions. It is the Botanica in the Netherlands, by the way, because these Ham and Nieuwegein are 1 week apart, and as a seller, that is, I should say, as a small seller, it is very, very short notice in between. I usually prepare for a plant market for a couple of months ahead, and since I'm running it from home, I don't have a lot of space to stock up for 2 markets at the same time. So I will probably pass on Nieuwegein and go to Ham instead. I've been to Ham as a visitor only. I really enjoyed the vibe they had there, and I think it would be much better as a seller to attend Ham instead of Nieuwegein. I also got asked what is my thoughts about tissue culture. And I think this is a really relevant question because tissue culture is popping off lately. I don't necessarily think it's done more often, it's just more knowledgeable, I think. My personal opinion about tissue culture is that it's absolutely awesome. It makes the hobby much more affordable for a lot of us. It's not just great for the customer to have a nice end product, but it's also much better for nature because they do less poaching on plants. I think that's something you really have to consider or think about when you're in a hobby that contains natural products. There is absolutely nothing wrong with tissue culture. It doesn't mean that the plant is less than an original plant. It's just a clone. And I know a lot of people, especially in the anthurium hobby, are all about the OG source. And of course, I understand that. It comes with a price tag that a lot of people can't afford. I think that's where tissue culture absolutely rocks. All right, this is the potted up Monstera. It obviously doesn't fit in the old pot, so I will remove that one. And here is its new home. Voila! I have a 3D printed pot for the asparagus fern. It's looking so cute. I'm very happy with it. All right, you guys, that was the end of today's video. I want to thank you so much for staying all the way to the end. Please consider liking this video, leave a nice comment, maybe post a Christmas tree emoji because the Christmas season is so close. And I wish you wonderful holidays and already a happy new year. I will post another video before Christmas, but you might see this later. And, you know, happy holidays and a wonderful new year. And I hope to see you in the next video, of course. Bye, guys. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.